I've applied to 20 companies and I finally got one interview. I remember last year when I applied to 20 companies, I would get 5 interviews. Congratulations! We are pleased to offer you a position at our company. Thank you so much. Let me go over the offer details and think about it before giving you my final decision. This offer is a lower title than my current position, and the pay is just 5% higher. I always thought job hopping leads to significantly higher pay. I could negotiate, but it seems there's limited upside. All that work just for one offer. I could use some extra cash. Are you hardworking and patient with customers? Yes. Restaurant just closed for the day. What do you do next? Clean up remaining tables and help everyone clean up. Great. You can start work tomorrow. Whoa, that was so much easier than applying to hundreds of jobs. Hello there. I'm Alex and welcome to Sinspiration, where I inspire you to develop a growth mindset. The job market in 2023 is very different from mid-2021 to early 2022, and especially from pre-COVID times. Remember those days when there were so many job applications and you'd hear back 1 to 2 weeks on over half of your applications? Then you would get multiple offers that have significantly higher pay than your current job, and then you negotiate for higher salary, higher bonuses, higher stock, and then you actually get them. It was a job seeker's environment with more jobs and more budget from businesses and companies to hire more workers. And with multiple offers and salary transparency, we had more leverage in our compensation negotiations. But the tables have turned. Now the employers are starting to have the upper hand. They simply can't hire as many workers, and they even have to cut costs, which we have seen from the layoffs, particularly in tech. Even some companies and businesses that are on better footing are cautious with hiring, and they don't have to offer as high salaries because they know that these jobs are getting scarce. It seemed to have happened so suddenly. We recently had the Great Resignation, where people were quitting their jobs to look for new ones or starting side hustles, to now people being grateful to even keep their jobs. What led to this? It has to do with monetary policy. When COVID lockdowns started in March 2020, a huge part of the economy shut down. We had furloughs, especially in travel, dining, entertainment, and hospitality. In order to boost spending, the government introduced stimulus money into businesses and consumers like us. The interest rates were also slashed to 0%, making it extremely easy to borrow money and start businesses. Therefore, businesses and companies could take out more loans to invest, expand, and hire workers. It was a time of accelerated growth of e-commerce, taking out food, telecommuting, and working from home. Life centered around connecting on the internet as people social distanced. There were plenty of open jobs that had higher salaries because companies had a lot more money available to work with. Employers were competing against each other to attract talent, especially for remote jobs. Before the pandemic, there were 1.2 job openings per unemployed person. It crashed sharply to 0.2 in April 2020 due to COVID restrictions. Almost 2 years later, in March 2022, it peaked at 2.0. That's 2 job openings per unemployed person. Unemployed people and people looking to switch jobs had the advantage. With multiple offers at hand, and salary transparency, as well as negotiation tactics learned from social media, people were able to make a lot more money than their previous jobs. Some with the option to go hybrid or even remote. So they just left their old jobs. Then inflation kicked in. There was too much money in the economy and prices soared extremely quickly. Groceries, dining out, entertainment and travel tickets, toilet paper, you name it. To fight inflation, the Federal Reserve had to increase interest rates quickly. With rising costs and more difficulty to borrow money, businesses had to constrain and slow down growth, and we consumers started to spend less. Lower demand and the need to cut costs meant that businesses had to reevaluate hiring and headcount. Towards the second half of 2022, we've seen layoffs and hiring freezes. In the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey, or JOLTS report, released in April, the number of US job openings fell to its lowest level in nearly 2 years in February. The job market had 1.7 job openings per unemployed person, down from 1.9 the previous month. 10.5 million job openings, 6 million people unemployed. More jobs than those who are jobless. The US Chamber of Commerce wrote an article about the most impacted industries due to the labor shortage. I'll summarize the article as well as provide some anecdotes if possible. Food service and hospitality struggle to retain workers. These roles typically require people to work in person and traditionally have lower wages. Some have huge reliance on tips as income. Quit rates in these roles continue to be higher than average. When I went to the small towns, there were not enough waiters, waitresses, and kitchen staff. Some restaurants even had to turn people down because all of their tables were at capacity. My family and I had to go through 5 restaurants before we could finally eat. Finding a job in this industry will be easier because of the high supply and low demand for these types of jobs. But note that the hiring rate still outpaces the quit rate, with 1 million workers quitting and 1.1 million workers hired in January 2023. Durable goods manufacturing, wholesale and retail trade, education, and health services all have labor shortages. There are more unfilled job openings than unemployed people with experience in these areas. Finding a job in these industries will be easier. On the contrary, construction has a labor surplus with more unemployed workers with experience than job openings. This is likely due to the slowdown in new home building and also the construction of commercial real estate, due to the shift to remote and hybrid work. For finance and professional services, including technology, there are still more unfilled jobs than those who are unemployed in these industries. The turnover rate has also been decreasing due to more workers choosing to stick to their current jobs amid economic uncertainty. I have colleagues and friends who were impacted by layoffs during this time, but most of them had generous severance packages and were able to find new jobs within 1 to 2 months. Many people are still being shuffled around between companies. As for compensation for a new job, always negotiate, but be aware that employers are starting to have the upper hand and they won't be able to be as generous and flexible as before. Overall, blue-collar jobs appear to be more available than white-collar jobs, because a lot of the people who worked in blue-collar jobs either retired, or there are young people who choose to go to college instead, or maybe even start side hustles or create their own businesses. White-collar jobs are still available at companies that didn't overhire or expanded too quickly. The labor market has been tight, but the US unemployment rate is still at a low value of 3.5%. If you're thinking about switching jobs, it's still a job seeker's market with competitive pay and flexible work options in certain roles. I want to remind you that the current job market is unlike pre-COVID 2021 and early 2022. Stability is more important right now, as it is more favorable to work at companies and businesses that can withstand and get through the high interest rate environment and possible recession. If you think your employer is in a good position, then it's probably best to stay for the time being. But if your career growth has stagnated, or if you work in a toxic work environment, start your job search now. Look in the description below to check out links to my previous videos on job searching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up and leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to get updates on new videos, and check out my page for more content on how to grow your mindset. You've been inspired today. Good luck.